trying to keep up with 1099s and or employees and all of these things that started sucking me into like, oh crud, there's a lot more to this than I realized. And it's been crazy at times. It's been great, and we've had salespeople that were 1099, salespeople that were employees, and I could talk for a long time about that mess. But anyway, it's a lot of fun in doing this, but it's also a lot of work. So that's kind of the really quick, super condensed version. Do you have anything that you want to say there? Okay. So I want to just kind of see if y'all have any questions before I continue, anything that you're interested to hear from us.
I have a question. So you said we took off really quick, and often we look at companies and think, oh, they're an overnight success, and you find out they existed for 5 years before they took off really quick. So what are you talking about between the time you had that hailstorm and formed the LLC and when Fat Matt is busy enough that you feel like it's really taking off?
Okay, so the hailstorm hit our house June 12th, 2014. And then we started in the spring of 2015, we started marketing it. And so 15, we were it's after the big storm that hit Abilene. And so we were kind of a little bit behind that, didn't know that we were actually going to be a roofing company. And then because I did not know roofing. And so I was trying to really learn it and everything as we went. So the start was really pretty slow. I'd say probably spring, summer of 2016 is whenever we really caught some traction. 2017, the Chamber named me Abilene's Young Entrepreneur of the Year. So that was, we had already started to see pretty good growth and getting out there, more people knowing who we were. And then this, in 2017 also, Abilene Scene had, it's one of the magazines that's out, they voted us Abilene's most loved roofer. So we've kind of been getting a lot of these recognitions in what I consider a pretty short time. We were also able to help get a roofing association started here in Abilene. We're one of the few companies from the area that was, this last week, we went to New Orleans for the International Roofing Expo, and just doing all of these things, really trying to bring more professionalism and a really kind of higher standards into our industry and trying to make it better as a whole. So with that, I think that 2 years was probably the most kind of the biggest part of the growth. Last year we also expanded into Odessa, so we have our second office now, and there again dealing with more employees and all of those things. It's become more of meetings, and had a meeting with Chris this morning, and just kind of really working to try to work on the business has been where I think the most successes came from. And it's kind of, I heard somebody in here talking about the E-Myth at one time. It's just kind of working on it rather than in the side of the business is, I think, what's helped us to grow a lot. So I think that answered the question.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're looking
So
for?
about 2 years, and then you're still growing quickly.
Yeah. And so some of the other things that I think early on that helped us out a lot, because we were not sure that this is really what we wanted to do. I thought that we would do an oil field company. Going back to that time again, so we believe in the Lord, and kind of faith is a big part of our life. So with going back into that time, we were in a group, an entrepreneur group at the church that Mike was also in as well, and there's a few other people that were there. And it was really good to be in this group of like-minded people that are in business. And so we spent a lot of time in there talking to each other about the ideas and what we're doing for business and how we can be people of the kingdom of heaven within the business atmosphere. So we're not out trying to hit people over the head with the Bible, but how can we not use like religion and marketing, but how can we truly be religious in business type deal without using religion for the gain of the business, or without any of that, and not just being in the business, but having it to kind of go through some of our stuff too. So that was really a big time. In that, I think what we learned is, man, there's a lot of people around that have been through the same stuff that I'm going through right now. I was driving out to Pecos one day. This is while I was still in the oil field. Driving out to Pecos one day to go out and spend however long I was going to be out there babysitting a well. And I felt like the Lord had told me it's time to turn in my resignation letter. And that was crazy because I made really good money. And whenever I was driving out to Pecos, it was this, oh man, is this because I'm about to be away from my family and I'd rather be at home, so maybe this is me thinking this, or is this truly something that the Lord's kind of put on my heart? And long story short, I really believe that it was the Lord that was saying that. And so we ended up doing it when it didn't make sense. I thought at the time what we would do is start our own oil field company, doing the production testing and flow back and that side of it after the well's drilled, it's fracked, and it's making oil now. And that's kind of what I was saving money to do, is to be able to start that kind of a company up. And that's the reason that I was going to this entrepreneur group. And I think out of that's kind of when you started Venture Call, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of those things are kind of going there. And then after I turned in the resignation letter, it was kind of one of those deals of, well, crud, now I've got to deal with this roof. Because now that I don't have a job, I can actually get one of these people to come fix our roof. We had, after the storm, there's the out-of-town companies, there's people, it was just an ugly thing, and I couldn't stand the way that I perceived the roofing industry to be. And we felt like we couldn't trust the people that came by the house, and whenever I don't trust somebody, I certainly don't want to give them the money to come and tear our roof off and do whatever it is. And we just bought the house in May of 14, and then less than a month later, it gets hit with this hailstorm. And all of which is what started the roofing company. So that was definitely an interesting time there. But in there, I guess where I'm going with this part of it is, it was the people in the group that I was able to talk to and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. What do you think? And then Mike and several other people would be able to say, man, this sounds like a great idea, or you may want to think about this a little bit more. And so we just kind of would bounce the ideas off, and some of the biggest issues that we've had have been employee issues, dealing with how do you fire somebody. I didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, it was, and I still hate firing people, or whatever the problems are, but being able to talk to a group of men and women that had been through it, and just to kind of have a sounding board was huge for us, I think. And anyway, do you have anything you want to say on any of that?
Well, let's ask Kyera a question from the standpoint of, so this vision is starting to grow, okay, and the possibilities starting to grow. How did you deal with the fact that when he came home and he said, you know, I think the Lord's saying this, and I'm getting out of the oil field business, and here we go. How did you deal with that, and as a spouse and a supporting wife and so forth?
Well, I think luckily, I don't think that if I didn't have like a relationship with God, like even before that, like years before that, I thought one day God told me to tell Matt that He'll provide the way. and I was talking about going to school, and Matt went to school, and when he was starting school, we didn't have the money to pay for it. He kept going to this lady, and she kept saying, no, I'm not giving you any financial aid. And he went 2 or 3 times, and one day finally she just, okay, we found this, and we're gonna pay for your school, we're gonna pay for your books. And so that just kind of, to me, just was God showing, like, I tell you something, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna provide the way. So whenever we started the roofing company, I just felt, he said, several times God's told him to quit. And I'm like, okay, if he says he's gonna do that. One time when he quit, we were about to have our second son, and so it was just like, okay, we'll make it work. And we always have. And so when he told me, I was like, yeah, this is exciting. We've always wanted to start a business. So I was super excited to start it and see what was gonna happen. And there's been times where, as it's grown, we got to a point where at first we were doing good and we were making money and we're like, wow, this is good. Wasn't quite as good as the old one, but we were getting there and we had our own thing, and it was like, okay, cool. Well, then it's like, well, we're at the point where we can either just stay here, it's kind of getting some traction, or we need to really vamp up and go for it hard. But there'll be a time where maybe we're not making as much, but we're putting it back into the business. And so that was kind of scary, because it's like, well, your main thought is, well, I want to make the money. I want, for us, and that's less time. It's good that he's building the company, but then people don't see that's less time at the house. At this point we had 4 kids and one on the way, so it's like, that's a lot of time away from me. That's a lot of time away from the kids, and I'm having to do all the housework. I'm having to do all the stuff when he's not there. So that part was definitely scary, not, knowing if it was going to go good. And there was times where it would start going good, and then we had all these employees. We had a lot of employees, and then all of a sudden they just all left. It's like, oh, we have 2 people now. And so it's stuff like that scary. It's like, now we have all this money invested, and we have 2 employees, and so. But I think the one thing that I know a lot of people I hear that'll say about Matt is, oh, he's just so lucky. I'm not that lucky. And I'm like, well, I think that with some businesses there might be a certain invention where there is luck, that you stumble upon this amazing idea and that it just takes off and everybody wants your thing. But I think more than that, with anything, it's people don't see the back time. They don't see the nights that Matt has been up in the office till 10, 11. One night he fell asleep at the office and then was there in the morning, and so people don't see that. People don't see that when there's a hailstorm, in Holly a few years ago, as soon as it hit, I was like, I gotta go. It was 10 or 11 at night. So, I'm there by myself, and he's leaving in bad weather to go put tarps on people's roofs. So that's time and energy. There's times where, there was a hailstorm in May a few years ago, and it was, the weekend, it was just family time, but he's like, well, we need to get out there. And so we all loaded up all of our kids. We went to May, and we spent the weekend, we went and did some garage sales. They had a community garage sale. And so we went to the garage sales and we talked to people and handed out cards. And so, it was fun. We got to see the kids, but we're working, it's a lot of time, a lot of energy. There's a lot of times he's on the phone, or we're eating dinner, or he gets calls that he has to take. And so I think people don't realize that they just think, oh, Matt's a likable guy, he's fun, he has a good personality, he's just lucky. And he does have all those things, but it's not luck. It's also, no one sees the other side of it. And I see it because, when he's doing that, I have to kind of pick up the slack at the house and do the other things that he's not able to kind of help him to be able to do what he does.
Good.
You had a question?
Yeah, a statement and then a couple of questions. But the statement being, thanks for telling the story, because when I first saw your truck, and I've known guys on roofs, right? My son being one of them, he's like you're built. And I'm thinking, how is this fat Matt going to get up a ladder? And that's and the first thing was, my first thought was, I know he's good at what he does because it's a great look, great catch, and and then if I need a friend who needs a roof, I got to see this, for real. That's the initial thought. So the question is, with Fat Matt does that, are you thinking of doing the division thing, offering other stuff? is that gonna stay just roofs, or how does that go?
It's a good question. So we actually, 2017, we got into home building and remodels also, and I can tell you I hate them. I hate remodels and home builds. But we have 2 that we're finishing up right now, 2 new homes, and then I think that we're finished with all of our remodels. And that was such, it was one of the deals where we hired people to do those things, but then it felt like we were pushing with our arms wide open and trying to push everything rather than bringing everything in the center and pushing roofing. And so I still think that fatmattdoesthat.com is really catchy, and people remember Fat Matt does that. It rhymes. We hear a lot of funny things about it, but that is roofing, and that's what we want it to be. We are a really good roofing company. Yeah, we general contract. There's other things that go along with storm restoration. You have a lot of times windows are busted, siding is busted, there may be interior work and all of those things, which we do those. But give me a chance to just do the roof, and I would be a whole lot happier.
Because I'm picturing how it could be branched out, and I'm looking at a moving company, and like, I know Fat Matt can move that. You know what I mean? Because I can see Fat Matt move that, but I can't see him on a ladder. Yeah. So maybe we'll have to talk, and I don't know,
Yep.
movie company, lucrative stuff.
That's right. Good stuff.
But then, question number 2, and I'll end with this. But first, the statement. I like the whole faith-based. I could see the spirit about you too immediately without saying that you're involved in your faith, and that's cool because that's what people want to work with. But am I going to now see signs around town that say, "Fat Matt, pray for hail"?
So one of the things that
Pray for hail.
we're not one like the company. We're not out there trying to push kind of faith or do any of those things. So you're not going to hear us talking about it a lot in everywhere we go, because it does turn a lot of people on when you talk about faith. And I'm not so much worried about that. I feel that we have a much bigger purpose than, and it may sound bad at first, but than just sharing our faith with just one person. I think that the Lord has called us to be the best business people that we can possibly be. As a result of those things, we'll be able to help so many people out beyond that. And so last year, and kind of, I want to tie a few things in. So last year, I went to Cambodia and some of these other areas with a friend that was over there as a missionary, who their goal is to plant 500 churches in 5 years in Cambodia, which I think that they're the second most receptive to the gospel in the world, and yet there's only 3% of the people that have been reached for in Christianity. And so when you have so many people that are receptive to the gospel, and why not